It's interesting how the meaning of red pill has evolved over the last 5 years to essentially now mean I would say anti-woman. They would say pro-man, but I think it's far beyond pro-man. I think it's decidedly anti-woman in many ways.
It's both, but it's primarily anti-men. Just like feminism is also both, but it's primarily anti-women. They both focus on the same outcomes: no marriage, no family creation, promiscuity, abortion, and vasectomy, according to Rollo Tomassi.
And you see people who, I think some of them are bad actors who are peddling, but then you also see people like Pearly Things who, I don't know Pearl, I don't know if she's a bad actor or not. I kind of get the sense that maybe she's just a naive person being kind of dragged along out of half desire to be famous and half probably hasn't read a book.
Pearl is not naive. She doesn't strike me as a naive person. You know, I don't know why people keep calling her naive. She's not naive to me. To me, Pearl is the real deal. She is working hard, by the way, to finalize the feminist project, which is to finally destroy marriage and family. Just imagine if we can get men to completely give up on marriage and family, feminism will be able to usher in the next phase of their agenda. And we all know what the next phase of their agenda is. If you don't know, they are teaching it to your kids right now in schools. Of course, I'm talking about the alphabet gang. That in order for you to indoctrinate the next generation to accept LGBTQ, you have to get rid of the nuclear family. And how do you get rid of the nuclear family? You get rid of the nuclear family by destroying marriage, the institution of marriage. Because it's the institution of marriage that creates the nuclear family. Since 1970s, marriages have been steadily declining. Guess what else has also been steadily declining? That's right, the nuclear family. So much so that the birth rate is below the replacement rate. Has fallen below the replacement rate, the birth rate. It's that low. So this is what the red pill is trying to achieve, basically. They are aiding feminism in completely destroying the nuclear family by destroying the institution of marriage.
And half of that I can relate to. But the other half you can also relate. I do think it's this interesting question that is harder to talk about in one-on-one settings. It might be befit this format. Just to talk about what is the role of men and women, what is the role of marriage in a society that has essentially turned its back on the concept of marriage, that is legally encoded anti-man policies.
Has society turned its back on marriage? Absolutely. In fact, the Western world turned its back on the concept of marriage when it became secular in the 17th century. Bet you guys didn't know that. This is when the separation of church and state basically took place. All right. And then the Enlightenment period came after that. All right. Since then, since the separation of church and state, secularism just means without religion. We've seen ideologies like feminism in the late 1800s, evolution, Marxism, and LGBTQ, wokeism. These are the ideologies that came after the Enlightenment period, so-called Enlightenment period. To me, there's nothing enlightening about that. It's dark and evil because the consequences have been absolutely catastrophic. Human reasoning on secularism has literally led us to the point where the nuclear family is going out of existence, and the birth rate has fallen below the replacement rate. I think that's crazy. So yeah, that's when we turn our back on marriages. It was a very long time ago.
Our legal code.
The definition of marriage. I mean,
abolish the definition.
It's not anti-men. They've abolished difference. They've abolished the difference between men.
The distinction itself.
Yeah.
You know, I just went on the Whatever podcast.
Yeah.
For my, I think it's now my 28th hour on that show.
That was 6 hours.
After a 3-hour debate on the show.
was really good.
So I
That was a
didn't.
separate thing?
Yeah, I did 9 hours,
did 9
basically
hours?
straight. Yeah,
Whoa.
but it was worth it.
How?
It was
Why?
great. It was great. I really love that show. I love it because
Got almost every question.
when I did it the first time.
Couldn't pay me. You pay me $1 million, I wouldn't.
No, I love it because these poor girls, man. The whole thing with that show, which is why it's so funny, is you get
Hold
these
on,
girls-
I'll pay you $10,000.
You're really gonna do it.
You're like 11. No, the thing with that show that makes it very funny is guys go on and they make fun of these girls who have OnlyFans who are like 18 and don't know anything. And then the guys completely destroy them. And then the girls look like dummies. And then the clip goes viral. And I felt it would be wrong to do that. I felt I might get a lot of views, but I might also burn in hell for eternity. And I thought about it for a moment. And then I thought, no, okay, I won't do it.
And I agree with Michael Knowles. Michael Knowles is absolutely right. You know, it's important to help people understand the truth. And you can only do that in a respectful way. All right? It's not just about winning the argument. It's not just about proving a person wrong. It's not just about making someone look bad, you know, for views or for whatever it is that they do it for. It's about trying to help someone understand the truth so that they can change, so that they can change their lives and become better. But you can only do that if you do it respectfully. You know, he could have easily gone into the whatever podcast and absolutely make those girls feel small. He could have belittled them. He could have done all of that. But he decided to do it in a way that's respectful so that they are more receptive to the message so that they can change, rather than just talking down to them or belittling them. I'm not saying don't be straightforward, don't be direct. Absolutely be direct. But you can be direct without being disrespectful. It's because to me, what's important is helping that person change. That's it. Helping them realize the truth. And the best way to do that is by doing it in a respectful manner.
And so I went on, and
You also have a rule: never give the audience what they want.
Yeah, exactly. Never like I went on a great
Michael knows
discourse
story.
about the Treaty of Augsburg. Actually, so I go on there, and I just felt it's not these girls' fault. All of them have some weird family situation. None of them. We live in a culture that teaches them a ton of lies. They have no education. Even if they went to good schools, they have no education. They don't. So I felt, okay, let's just talk about what's really going on here. And they're victims of feminism, and the red pill guys are victims of feminism. And
I disagree. Well, I agree, and I disagree when he said, "Oh, it's not these girls' faults." I believe in personal responsibility and personal accountability, so I absolutely say it's those girls' fault. They have personal agency. They have free will. They can choose, and they've chosen to do bad things. Yes. Do we live in a feminist society that promotes bad things? Absolutely. Absolutely. Is the culture against us? Absolutely. Is the culture against what is good? Yes, absolutely. I agree. All right. But I believe in personal responsibility, personal accountability. So it's definitely those girls' fault. Look, personally, I think, and I could be wrong, but I think it's more to do with the culture, with a culture that teaches them a ton of lies, than the weird family situation that Michael Knowles basically mentioned. Why do I think that? Because nah. I'm gonna go back on that because you need to fix the family. Once you fix the family, then you fix society. All right. The reason why I was saying what I was saying before is because if you don't have a society that promotes what's good, even though there's weird family situations, if you have a society that promotes what's good, that person will still have some kind of guidance to help them, to redirect them and direct them in the right place. But the problem is you can't change society unless you change the family. So yeah, but having said that, I don't excuse anyone's bad behavior just because society is bad. A feminist bad society does not mean people don't have the ability to know right from wrong or choose right from wrong and do the right thing. We have free will, guys. Come on.
The irony about the red pill guys, I sympathize with them a lot of ways. The family courts are totally stacked against dudes. The culture promotes divorce and abolished the definition of marriage and blah, blah, blah. But the red pill guys are feminists.
It's not as if men or red pill guys are out here actively pursuing good women. Okay, let's just be all the way honest. They are not out here actively pursuing good women that are going to be wives and good mothers. No, they're not. Let's just be 100. Listen, what these guys are actively pursuing is hedonism. Okay? They want to have sex with as many women as possible. That's it. That's what these guys think about. That's what these guys are actively doing. So how can you then complain that you can't find a good woman? You can't complain. You can't complain that you can't find a good woman if your lifestyle is based on chasing after bad, loose women. I mean, come on. Now, the family courts. Look, the family courts give custody to the mother because the role of a woman is to be the nurturer. All right, that's why the family courts give custody to the mother. If the family courts started giving custody to the men, who is the provider, how is he going to work and provide for his children? Or do they want us to stay at home and be the woman? Because that's what would happen. That's what would happen if we had full custody. Basically, the women will go into the workforce and we will basically adopt the role of a woman. Basically, now, are there injustices that happen within the family court and family courts in terms of, the father never gets to see the child because they just believe in whatever the woman says? Absolutely, I agree with that. That is absolutely wrong. And the family courts, I think they're doing that to frustrate men. They want to frustrate men to the point where men call for, legal reform. Okay. But to me, all that's going to lead to is fathers having custody of the children, which means fathers will stay at home. And guess what? The women will go out into the workforce, which will push women into the workforce even more. That's basically my theory as to what's going to happen. To me, that is the logical conclusion. But yeah, these guys are not actively pursuing good women. Come on.
Their sense of men and women is basically this.
Right.
It's just that men and women are interchangeable.
Yes.
And go around, screw around, you owe nothing to women. If it's good for women, it's good for men. And that's just a lie. The fundamental unit of society is actually not the individual.
Right.
I love individual rights. It's good to be an individual. The fundamental unit of society is the family. It's men and women together who have a love that becomes so real that you make more.
I'll be honest with you, Michael Knowles is bang on. I don't know if you guys heard it. He said that these guys are feminists. And yes, red pill guys are feminists. They advocate for the same things feminism advocate for. The red pill ideology, not a praxeology, guys, states that sexual promiscuity makes men more attractive to the opposite sex. And some red pill podcasts even advise men to sleep with as many as 50 women. They advocate for no marriage. Feminism did and does the same thing. Example, no fault divorce. So what's the difference? These guys are feminists. That's who they are. That's what they are. They're doing, and I believe some of them are agents. Most of them are just idiots, incels that are, following the ideology blindly. But I believe there are agents in there that are working towards the feminist cause, which is to completely destroy marriage.
Or people.
Well, to have an atom, you have to have a proton and an electron, right? So it's like a man is a proton, like very important, but essentially nothing until it's
To
unified.
have Adam, you need to have an Eve.
No,
That's where I thought he was going.
Very important. Without Adam, you need to have an Eve. Adam needs an Eve, and that's very, very important. Without men and women coming together and forming nuclear families, there is no society, guys. There is no society. And the highest form of commitment you can show someone you love is through marriage. Marriage is the highest form of commitment. In marriage, you are making a promise to the woman, to her family, to God, to the state, that you will fulfill your duty as a man, and vice versa. She will fulfill her duty as a woman. But that But it's only in marriage. Marriage is the highest commitment a human being can make to another human being. That's it. Otherwise, it's just a joke. It's just that person's word. You know, they will say one thing today and tomorrow do another thing.
That's where I thought he was
And
going.
then I thought he was going to go for the Steve thing, and
Yeah.
I was just going
That's why
not Steve.
I've always
Two protons an atom does not make. I dare say.
I've always with the red pill, you know, and I've been in many altercations with the red. I've run afoul of the red pill crowd many times talking about these issues. And the question I've always had for them that they've never answered, and I'd love to hear an answer from any of them, is that, you know, because I agree with 95% of their criticisms, as you point out, the family courts and it's how it's stacked against men and so on and so forth. What's the other option? Like, okay, we agree with all that. So then men should just be alone and give up on their bloodline and die, and their bloodline is extinguished. Like what you are suggesting is despair. You are telling men that men are already feeling despair. They're feeling meaninglessness. They're feeling lost. They're feeling alone. They're feeling like everything's stacked against them. And so your answer to them is, yeah, well, just that's be in despair and then die.
That's it.
And my point is that's just not an okay answer. That can't be the answer.
And have lots
What was he
and
going
lots
to
of
say?
sex.
Well, but that's
And
that's
have
the
sterile
that's
sex.
what you said.
Yeah, yeah. Listen, guys. What the red pill, aka feminism for men, is suggesting is self-destruction. All right, Matt Walsh is absolutely right. It's self-destruction. Okay, under the guise. Okay, what they're suggesting is self-destruction under the guise that all women are bad, that it's all women's fault, and all men are good and victims, which of course is utter bullshit. Which gender is funding and encouraging every bad behavior that women engage in now? Yes, the male gender. Who do you think pays for OnlyFans? Women? No, men. Men are the ones paying for OnlyFans. They say all women are bad, so the solution, according to them, is to sleep with as many of them as possible. So we can apparently learn, so that men can apparently learn their nature. But don't marry them, though. This is what I'm talking about. It's full of contradictions. It's full of contradictions. Engage in the same behavior, but don't marry them. Because according to them, all women are bad. What? No, all women that you engage with are bad due to the fact that you want to live a promiscuous lifestyle. Let's just be all the way honest.
Although not as much as a married man.
But this is what you were saying, is that's how it turns to the anti-woman. Yeah. Because it's not about the despair. The way that you find meaning is then by disparaging the people who have victimized you. Right? In any victim-victimizer sort of narrative, when there is no actual victim and victimizer, and it has to be sort of put together artificially, then the person who self-perceives as the victim is very likely to then strike out at the person who they perceive as the victimizer. And so for a lot of the red pill men who perceive the woman, the great woman, as the victimizer, the idea is that you lash out at women by having lots of sex with random girls and basically treating them like trash. And it's okay because they said that it's okay with them, but I've never understood the argument that it relieves you of responsibility for treating a woman well just because the woman has consented to be treated badly.
It's all a lie. It's just an excuse, guys. They see women as victimizers because look, the reason why they see women as victims is because they are looking for an excuse to justify their promiscuous, lustful, hedonistic inclinations. That's it. That's why they see women as bad, as victimizers. All right, as the monsters. That's why it's all to basically justify their lustful desires. That's it. It's not that they really see them as that. It's just that they want to use that as a justification to continue doing what they do wrong. That's it. All right. Don't choose bad women. Choose good women. There you go. Done. Problem solved. But they don't want that. They keep choosing the loose women, the promiscuous woman. Why?
Am I missing this? What is the red pill no marriage thing? I feel like I'm pretty in the.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, no, it's a big
Am
thing.
I missing? Like
Yeah.
I feel like I've totally missed this.
Yeah, that's
When did-
their whole position. They think that
But
marriage is a
what men are anti-marriage?
well, yeah, that's the point. They shouldn't be, you know. But it's
No, but he's right. This is true.
Candace Owens, that's what they are trying to achieve. They want men to give up on the marriage institution. And instead of telling them to choose better women, They want to get rid of the marriage institution. And that's most men in the red pill space. The red pill space, mostly men. These are all men basically saying it.
All the guys that pop up in our Twitter feed.
But tell me, I'm actually missing this.
Well, this is an
I
argument
didn't know
Pearl
the
was
marriage
making,
thing.
for
Because I'm very
example. So
pro-marriage.
Pearl made that argument.
Yes.
She made
Okay,
the
so
argument men should not get married.
Okay.
Because the institution.
But are men listening to that? Like, are men saying that men shouldn't get married, or is that a woman saying that a man shouldn't get married?
Well, I think that there are examples of men saying it as well, but I think
The entire red pill community is saying it, Candace. Come on, you should know this. Pearl is just one of the biggest voices. And yes, Pearl is really working hard to get men to not get married at all.
Pearl is sort of a prominent, one of the prominent voices. A lot of the people
But she's
I hear
not married.
No.
Yeah. Okay. So then that I think that's a huge thing, right? I mean, obviously, it's like listening to people that don't have kids tell you why you shouldn't have kids. Like it doesn't really work, right? Because when you're telling them about what changes inside of you when you get married, and I think it's very easy to gravitate towards that. That is a feminist message, not to get married. And if her argument is, if your quarrel is with the courts, I could agree with you. Like, the courts have done tons of things that are awful that I disagree. I don't even agree necessarily with the courts taking marriage at all. And it was a church thing, and they took it, and this is how we ended up with gay marriage rights, which I'm very much opposed to.
People often criticize Pearl for not being married. But that's a stupid criticism to make, considering that she's anti-marriage. She literally wants to get rid of marriage. Now, is Pearl a feminist? Absolutely, 100% through and through. She's anti-marriage. Hello. I don't know why red pillars used going to the family courts. Now, I don't know why the red pillars use the family courts and divorce stats as a way to justify to men why the marriage institution isn't good for men. I really don't know. Family courts and divorce has nothing to do with marriage. Family courts and divorce is after the marriage has broken down. Whether a marriage will work or not work has nothing to do with family courts and divorce. It has to do with the kind of wife a man chooses. So choose the right woman, choose the right wife, find out what a good woman is, and choose that for the sake of society. Oh, God. Divorce laws and family courts have nothing to do with marriage. Has nothing to do whether marriage will last, not last, what a good woman is, what a good wife is, what a bad wife is. Has nothing to do with that.
Part of the red pill thing that we would all probably agree with is they diagnose actual problems.
Right.
So when Pearl or other people in the movement come along and say, this is a major problem in society,
Right.
I almost always agree with them.
Yeah.
It's when they get to the prescription that I think that it falls apart. The prescription being, lashing out at women generally, or embracing despair, or not kind of
It's
nihilism.
a feminist message. I mean,
The
that
irony-
is a fundamentally to be anti-family. I don't understand how you could identify as a conservative at all, because everything that the left is trying to do, every Marxist principle, every feminist principle is about disrupting, the family unit. It's what connects everything from the climate change lobby to don't have kids, the planet's going to die, to feminism, be like men, we should be like men. It's all a disruption of the family unit. And if you
Preach.
are now arguing in favor of something that's fundamentally Marxist, then you have to examine whether or not you're conservative at all. That would be
what we're
my
trying to-
pushback.
And preach, because she's preaching. Candace is preaching right now. And this is what these red pillars don't seem to realize or are deliberately avoiding. The red pill is essentially a feminist message, guys. Okay, the godfather of the red pill said it best. Don't get married, get a vasectomy, no family creation. All right? This is a feminist message. It's a feminist agenda. That's what the red pill is.
Back on that.
What we're trying to
I
conserve.
haven't heard any men say that they're anti-family. Maybe I need to just.
No, I have. A lot of,
I don't want to
yeah,
give them
yeah.
press because they're all jerks to me online.
Okay.
But there are a handful of these guys. And the irony of it is they put themselves out there to be these big, virile, pinnacles of masculinity. But their anthropology is fundamentally, for lack of a better word, gay. Right? Their anthropology is fundamentally sterile. And it's saying, yeah, we shouldn't get married, we shouldn't have kids, we should just have sterile relations with.
I could have said it better myself. Even Andrew Tate came to the same conclusion. And I wouldn't be surprised if he copied Mike Knowles, by the way, because I think this episode came out before Fresh and Fit went to Romania to do the interview with Andrew Tate. The red pill ideology is gay, guys. It's gay. Why? Because it promotes sterility. They tell men to sleep with 50 women before settling down. They tell men to not get married. They tell men no family creation. These guys are literally telling men to get a vasectomy. What's the difference between that and the gay relationship that doesn't reproduce? There is no difference. There is no difference at all. Okay? Listen, do you know how sterile you have to be in order to sleep with 50 women? In order to live a promiscuous lifestyle, the last thing you want is for the women to get pregnant. No wonder why they're advocating for vasectomy. It makes sense for men, for the red pill to advocate for men to get a vasectomy, because you're going to be engaging in a promiscuous lifestyle, and you don't want the woman to get pregnant. Because remember, according to the red pill, if she gets pregnant, has a child, listen, guess what? You're going to have to pay child support. That means you at that woman's mercy now. That means you lost, according to the red pill. You lost. This is what I'm trying to say. The whole ideology is geared towards no reproduction, no family creation. And how different is that from homosexuality? Come on.
Random women. And so it's kind of how the irony that, we end up at the topic that no one's allowed to name anymore, that Matt made a movie about. And, people say, well, that's so crazy, we should dial that back. But that's just a consequence of the very same sexual revolution that has said for many decades now that men and women are exactly the same, which comes from feminism, right? So
Horseshoe theory.
Totally, yeah. I mean, it's the logical conclusion of Gloria Steinem is these red pill bros, and they don't even realize it.
Well, I'm radically pro-marriage.
What I run into a lot, I mean, whether these people identify as red pill or not doesn't really matter. But when I talk about marriage on my show, and I promote it, and I talk about my own experiences with marriage, I hear all the time. I mean, the comments are full of people who are conservative who are saying, "Well, that's just your experience. That's a you got lucky. You have it easy."
Yes.
And you're trying to trick men into this deal that isn't going to work for them, just because you happen to find a good woman, and that's the kind of defeatist mentality I hear it all the time,
Yes.
all the time.
It's bullshit.
And what I want to say to these men is like, it's an easy way to dismiss it, but we're all married in this room, we're all happily married. So we didn't get lucky. It's like you have to work at it every single day. It's a choice that you make, and there's a lot of women out there who are looking to make that choice also.
Listen, he's saying it nicely. It's bullshit. When the red pills say there's no good women, it's bullshit. Remember who these men are. They're hedonistic degenerates trying to live out a promiscuous lifestyle. They're not trying to look for good women. They're not out here looking for good women that are going to be good wives, that are going to be good mothers. That's not their intention. That's not their goal. Their goal is to be promiscuous.
So to Drew's point, actually, so I'm going to back your point before you back your own. So the real question is why that's arising on the right. You understand why that revolutionary movement exists on the left. I mean, Kant has spelled it out. It is fundamentally a Marxist movement that seeks to destroy the institution of marriage in order to level all of society so that you can build up, based on the ashes, some sort of weird scrap heap of new creation. But the question is why that's happened on the right. And this is where I agree with Drew, is that
Exactly. That's exactly what's happening. But for that to happen, you have to destroy the nuclear family. Before you build this new creation, you have to destroy the nuclear family first. And how do you do that? You destroy marriage. That's what's working. And the next agenda, they literally indoctrinating children in schools right now with the next agenda. Every time you're watching TV, you're watching the next agenda. Every time your kids go to school and they're indoctrinated with that rubbish, that's the next agenda. This is what they want society to accept. Of course, they want that for a reason. Okay, the birth rate didn't go all the way down for no reason. There's a reason. There's an agenda behind it. There's a reason why they're doing what they're doing.
because the right, and this goes back even some of the Taylor Swift points that you were making earlier about why the right is getting Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce wrong, just imagistically. I mean, I now agree with everything you said about Taylor Swift, but the reason that that's happening is because since every institution has now been fundamentally taken over by the left, or at least that's the belief of the right. If you extend that to every institution, that extends even to like the most important institutions, right? The right is looking and they're seeing every institution that we once relied upon wrested out of our control, including things like church, right? Things that were very fundamental to our lives, wrested out of our control and then militarized against us. And so that's sort of the argument that the red pillars are making. What they're saying is that the institution of marriage was wrested out of our control and then perverted and used against us. In the same way that they're arguing that about the government, or arguing that about the church, or arguing that about the universities or the press. And the problem is that when it comes to marriage, because it's so personal and because in the end, there is no substitute for it, you can't just despair of the institutions and say build a giant alternative in the way, and like you have to actually do the thing that conservatives really should be doing in nearly all of these, all of these modes, which is seize control of the institutions back.
Right.
So what the big debate that's happening right now on the right is, can we do that with these institutions, or do you burn them to the ground? And it differs institution by institution, right? I think most of us in this room would say, like, the university system, go ahead and burn it to the ground. Or the legacy media, go ahead and burn it to the ground. But when it comes to the institution of marriage, you can't burn it down. That's not something you can burn down.
Well, it's not an institution invented by man, for one thing.
Right, exactly. And so you actually have
Well, you can burn it, but you burn civilization with it.
Exactly. And so I think that what's happened is a broad category error that the right has made. In being anti-institutionalist broadly, you're starting to see the most right-wing edges of the right wing say, well, that includes all institutions.
You burn these, listen, you hit the nail on the head. You burn the institution of marriage and you burn society to the ground. That's basically what he's saying. Yes, have they have the left, have the left infiltrated good institutions? Yes, they have. They have infiltrated marriage institutions. They have infiltrated a lot of good institutions that we have in society. But does that mean we can burn it to the ground? Does that mean we have to give up on these institutions? No. If we give up on these institutions, guess what? We are literally crucifying society. We're literally burning society. Marriage is not one of those institutions that you can just get rid of. Believe you me, you can't. You get rid of that, you get rid of society. Anyways, guys, listen. I hope you enjoyed this reaction. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. And I'll see you on the next reaction. Peace.